Recently, there's been a noticeable trend within internet-based goth spaces of outsiders coming in and assuming that goths are into something they refer to as goth rap or SoundCloud rap. These individuals will leave comments on goth YouTubers' channels, playlists, Instagrams, and even attempt to join goth-related group chats thinking they'll find others into this music. Usually they're met with a bit of questioning and further explanations about how goth is a music-based subculture and that rap has no relation to its history. This only results, at least most typically, in them becoming angry and inevitably them shouting about elitism and how goths should be accepting and not judgmental of others' music taste. It's a pretty painful discussion every time, and while many goths become angry and try to drive these people away, I personally try to educate them briefly on what goth is really about, asking them if they'd be interested in hearing some good bands and whatever else may be relevant to the current discussion. Sometimes it leads to a genuine curiosity and they'll learn something, but other times it's pretty much just a disaster and they won't accept that they and their favorite rapper are simply not goths. This all started to happen more frequently since early 2018, but has been going on since probably around mid-2016. My first thought is to compare these people to the so-called mall goths of the early 2000s. These people were typically younger, had an interest in dark and deviant fashion choices, and were really only calling themselves goths because of their clothes. Although I'm a bit too young to remember the full extent of mall goths' effect or presence within the goth subculture of the early 2000s, I did experience the tail end of the fad around the time I was in middle school. Ultra baggy trip pants, neon and or jet black spiked and swooped hairstyles, black nails, fingerless gloves, Converse, and band shirts from whatever artist happened to be popular and hot topic at the time. Many people remember the look and maybe even participated in the style in their youth. Plenty of them can even look back and laugh at themselves. I'm also reminded of the pastel goth trend that blew up around, probably 2013 or 2014, that lasted until fairly recently. These people liked the term goth and wanted to fit themselves into the subculture, but most goths honestly weren't having it. Every handful of years, there always seems to be a new fad or some sort that latches onto goth and attempts to appropriate and in some ways capitalize on the subculture. The term goth is familiar enough and conjures enough connotations when processed by most people that it seems to be an easy-to-use term for anything dark, alternative, or simply just underground. This really isn't what it should be used for, but it happens. Right now, it seems to be occurring with this whole SoundCloud rap scene. More and more rappers are embracing dark and alternative aesthetics, they're getting face tattoos, wearing black nail polish, growing out and dyeing their hair, wearing DIY-inspired designer fashion, and wearing a lot of black among other things. I'm sure anyone watching this video knows what I'm talking about. Think of artists such as Lil Peep, XXXTentacion, Ghostmeme, or Lil Uzi Vert. Now that I've set the scene, you may be wondering, what the hell is goth rap? Well, let's explore it and see why it both doesn't exist and is in no way connected to goth. From my understanding, goth rap is really a misnomer for three conflated subgenres of hip-hop: mumble rap, SoundCloud rap, and emo rap. All three terms seem to be used interchangeably with perhaps minor distinctions between each of them, making them at most microgenres. Mumble rap is essentially a derogatory term used to criticize the unenthusiastic, emphasis-lacking, and often unclear, mumbling rap flow of many young, contemporary hip-hop artists. According to an article on Billboard.com, rapper Wiz Khalifa was the first to coin the phrase when describing the sound of young rappers. Most mumble rappers gained popularity through the music-sharing site SoundCloud, thus leading to the alternate term, SoundCloud rap. It seems to me that this term has caught on more than anything else right now, but if you're someone more familiar with or involved in any hip-hop scenes, let me know in the comments what term you hear used the most. So it's pretty clear where this genre began, but what are its influences and stylistic origins? Essentially, most SoundCloud rappers combine trap music, which is a hip-hop subgenre typically characterized by its heavy 808 bass kicks and tons of hi-hats. Trust me, you'll know it if you hear it, and some various lo-fi versions of other genres, giving it a very independent, DIY sound. Other common features of SoundCloud rap I've noticed are the use of tons of reverberated samples, synths, and beats, as well as vocal effects and any other mixing techniques that give the music a full, sometimes ethereal sound.
I'm
Though, while it can sound full and ethereal, I've also noticed harsher or minimalistic sounding tracks that are also referred to as SoundCloud rap. So it's a little bit confusing at times, which leads me to believe that it's not a fully formed genre yet, but a micro-genre or perhaps the internet version of a regional scene within hip-hop. The term emo rap has been applied to a lot of newer SoundCloud rappers in recent years, but typically this refers to those that took their music in a more angsty and emotional direction. Though the term emo rap still confuses me just as much as goth rap. While emo rap is definitely more accurate than the entirely inaccurate goth rap label, seeing as artists such as Lil Peep have sampled emo bands such as Mineral, many others simply include lo-fi rock or pop punk mixed into their hip-hop sound and have been deemed emo-inspired. To those that are unfamiliar with emo, it's not actually bands like My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, or Panic! At the Disco. None of these bands are emo. Emo refers to the offshoot subgenres of hardcore punk. This would include bands such as Sunny Day Real Estate, Snowing, Orchid, Captain Jazz, and American Football. So if it's called emo rap, how are people mistakenly calling it goth rap, or associating it with goth in any way? There are likely three main reasons for this, the first being the popularity of the musical collective Goth Boy Clique, which featured a handful of popular emo rap artists, including Lil Peep until his death in late 2017. He liked to use the term goth boy in his songs, and some of his fans began to refer to themselves using the term. The second is the fact that people continually confuse emo with goth, perceiving them as synonymous. As previously mentioned, both emo and goth are music-based subcultures, but they're entirely different and have no historical connection, nor do they sound remotely similar. Goth refers to both the genre goth rock as well as other subgenres of music that spawned from post-punk in the early 1980s, while emo refers to, again, the offshoot subgenres of hardcore punk. Emos listen to emo and goths listen to goth. It's really that straightforward. Here's a quick comparison of the two. As you can see, these are two completely different genres of music. Goth and emo are as unrelated as Christian rock and black metal. They both have similar roots going very, very far back in music history, but are so far removed as they've evolved that it'd be like comparing a whale to a human. Sure, we've evolved from a common ancestor, but we've become two separate species occupying completely different spaces. Obviously, both of these genres of music are also completely different than SoundCloud or emo rap. Just because a genre may be somewhat dark does not mean that it's goth. Goth is not just about being dark, but rather it's a style of music. Goth are not people who play dress up or sit around being constantly emotional. They're fans of a very specific music. Some fans of SoundCloud rap that like to call themselves and their music goth will argue that goth has evolved over the years and that this rap scene is the next evolution of goth. That's completely false. It is true that goth does evolve, but there are already genres it's evolved into. Death rock, dark wave, cold wave, ethereal wave, etc. These genres are directly connected to post-punk, which is the foundation genre that created the subsequent tree of goth music. Goth rap, emo, and many other dark music genres are not in any way connected to goth or its roots. For something to be an evolution of another thing, it requires some connection to its past form. Again, just because something is dark doesn't mean it's goth. Something is only goth if it's connected to goth music. If anyone is curious about the actual evolution of goth music, I'll link a video I made below briefly explaining most of the main goth subgenres. Some people still remain under the impression that goth is merely a fashion choice, but that's also not true. Realistically, a goth can wear whatever they want and still be a goth as long as they're avidly listening to goth music and it's their main music taste. Just like a metalhead or a hip-hop head would not be labeled as such without listening to their accompanying subculture's music. It's exactly the same for goth. Just because these SoundCloud rappers like to throw around the word goth or dress alternatively, it doesn't mean that they are goths. The third reason for the eternal confusion about goth is that many people use the words goth and gothic interchangeably, when really they're used differently. Goth is a noun that refers to the music genre and its fans, while gothic is an adjective that refers to a dark style of architecture and genre of literature. Gothic may also be used to describe other dark concepts, but it's still distinct from the term goth in various ways. A goth is a fan of goth music and a member of the goth subculture, while a gothic person is someone of a darker nature or someone likely interested in historical gothic arts. Of course, the confusion is only exacerbated by the fact that those with an interest in a gothic lifestyle also typically find an interest in goth music, so there's a lot of crossover between the various darkly inclined communities. Now that I've explained most of my points, I'd like to make a clarification. Some people are under the impression that in order to be a goth, you must only listen to goth music. This is not true. Although it is a requirement by definition that a goth listens to and prefers goth music, this doesn't restrict them from listening to other genres. As a goth myself, I also happen to love a wide variety of other music. I'll listen to G-funk, house, reggae, dancehall, new wave, synthpop, death metal, and many more genres. Just because I sometimes listen to other genres doesn't strip away my goth card. If you're a goth that also happens to enjoy listening to SoundCloud rap as well as goth rock, dark wave, or any other goth subgenre, that's completely fine. So long as you're not conflating SoundCloud rap with goth, go ahead and listen to your heart's content. The sole purpose of this video was not to bash SoundCloud rap or to hate any particular artist or their fans. People are free to listen to and enjoy whatever music they want. I'm personally fascinated by the growth of the SoundCloud rap scene, but have been pretty annoyed, as have other goths, with the continuous comparisons and mislabeling of the genre as goth. Nothing about SoundCloud rap is goth. Lil Peep, XXXTentacion, Lil Uzi Vert, and all the other dark SoundCloud rappers are not goth, and goth rap simply is not a thing. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on this whole goth rap thing in the comments below. Do you think there could be a goth rap if ever crafted correctly? Why or why not? Could sampling of actual goth music and the elements and structure of goth subgenres be fused with hip-hop beats or rapping? Who knows? I'll let you guys discuss it. Until the next video, bye guys.